As COVID cases are once again surging and a new variant is spreading, Republicans are claiming falsely that Democrats want to return to lockdowns and suggesting that you can use mouthwash to treat COVID. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. With holiday travel, COVID cases are once again on the rise, and now there's a new variant that early indications suggest is even more transmissible than Delta, called the Omicron variant. We got one of our earliest introductions to how the virus spreads from a large gathering in New York City recently.
The CDC has now contacted more than 35,000 people who attended a recent anime convention in New York City. It's to alert them of a COVID case there. Scientists believe the convention could give them the earliest looks at the spread of Omicron in the U.S.
Hey, COVID, you leave our anime conventions alone. If anime fans can't talk to each other in a convention setting, they're going to bring it to the office, and nobody wants that. Hey, just FYI, there was a new Sailor Moon last night, so maybe steer clear of Dave. And it's an extra bummer since Omicron sounds exactly like a character name from anime. That must have been weird for the contact tracers. I'm calling to let you know you may have come in contact with Omicron at the anime convention. Oh, no way, I should have gotten an autograph. And by the way, I'm saying all of this as a self-identified comic book fan. I am not judging. It is hard to find people with the same interests. I mean, when I worked at SNL, I used to go to Lorne's office and ask him who his favorite Spider-Man character was, and he'd say Norman Osborn. You know, everyone focuses on the Green Goblin, but they forgot Oscorp did some really good things. And by the way, if COVID can spread at an anime convention, can you imagine how bad it'll be at other mass gatherings? Have you ever been to SantaCon? That thing was a super spreader event before COVID even existed. If you have children, I beg of you, keep them away from Midtown during SantaCon. It will scar them for the rest of their lives. And I know from experience, I'll never forget my kids saying, "Daddy, why is Santa peeing on a police car?" That cop was very bad this year and Santa's out of coal. So they detected Omicron at an anime convention, which then allowed it to spread to other states. Yesterday, CNN interviewed someone with one of the earliest cases who thankfully had only very mild symptoms and quickly recovered, which he credited to the fact that he was vaccinated, although the anchors still seemed a little suspicious when he started sniffling.
So tell us about your experience of getting sick with Omicron. What were your symptoms? What was it like?
Yeah, I had a very light, what I thought was a cold, fatigue, cough, runny nose, which only lasted about 24 hours. I'm very pro-vaccine, and I think because of me getting the booster and my vaccine that I was able to recover so fast and that my symptoms were so mild.
Peter, are you okay now? It sounds like you got the sniffles, a little nasally. What's going on? How you feeling?
No, unfortunately, living in Minnesota, it's freezing cold all the time. So it just the air gets to me, and I also have asthma, so it's just like it's an ongoing thing my entire life. But I feel 100%.
All right, I was just checking. I heard a little sniffle and a little nasally, just making sure you're all right.
Unfortunately, this is just how I sound all the time.
Oh, now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I know what you're going through. I have asthma, and I carry an inhaler with me all the time. I keep it at the desk in case Sal writes some long, wordy run where there's no time for me to take a breath. Plus, I need it after I do my Mike Lindell impression, because I don't know how that guy does it, but I've never seen him take a breath. So I stand in solidarity with you, Peter. But it's a sign of just how paranoid we've all gotten that we hear a few sniffles and we all turn into virologists. I mean, hearing a cough on the subway now is like hearing a twig snap in a horror movie. And if I show any symptoms of a cold at home, I have to make up a story so my wife doesn't make me stay at a hotel. Why are you sniffling? I was doing some cocaine with NYU students. You better be telling the truth. The point is, pandemic life sucks. We all hate it. But as much as we may be done with COVID, COVID is not done with us. That's just the reality. Thankfully, we have so many more tools at our disposal now to deal with it, like vaccines, boosters, high-quality masks, ventilation, and rapid tests, which everyone should have access to. Trying to get your hands on a rapid test right now is like trying to buy a Tamagotchi in the 90s. And if you don't get that reference, the 90s were a decade that happened 10 years before you were born. Before Tom Holland, there was Tom Agachi. That's my Tom Holland. The new one won't let me feed him. In other developed nations, rapid tests are all either super cheap and widely available or provided for free by the government, which is how it should be here. Instead, the Biden administration has somehow come up with the worst of all possible options. Buy the test yourself, then get reimbursed by your insurance provider.
We're now 2 years into this pandemic, and the thing we needed in month one is still the thing that we need today: widespread, easy, rapid testing. Last week, President Joe Biden announced his plan to have private insurers cover the cost of at-home tests, meaning you can buy a test, submit the cost, and your insurance will reimburse you for it.
Have you ever tried to get reimbursed by your insurance provider? There are like 80 pages of forms to fill out, and inevitably you get a letter 6 months later that says your claim was ineligible because you forgot to include the last digit of the service code for the procedure under Section C regarding federal identification processing numbers for all medical personnel involved in rendering the procedure, which was out of network and classified as non-essential elective surgery, which means you're on your own. Good luck with your kidney transplant. A situation like this is when it really becomes clear just how screwed up our for-profit medical system is. This week, a reporter suggested the insurance reimbursement system might be too complicated and asked why we can't just provide free tests like other countries. And then White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki mocked the question by jokingly asking if the White House should just send free tests out in the mail.
There's still a lot of countries like Germany and the UK and South Korea that basically have massive testing free of charge or for a nominal fee. Why can't that be done in the United States?
Well, I would say first, we have 8 tests that have been approved by the FDA here, and this effort to push to ensure insurers you're able to get your tests refunded means 150 million Americans will be able to get free tests.
It's kind of complicated, though. Why not just make them free and give them out and have them available everywhere?
Should we just send one to every American?
Yes. You should send a test to every American. I mean, if Pottery Barn can send every American 8 catalogs a year, you should be able to pull off one. You know what? Maybe we should just outsource this to Pottery Barn and let them put ads on the swabs. Seriously, why is that ridiculous? Other countries with public health systems are already doing it, like the United Kingdom, which sends packs of 7 free rapid tests to anyone who asks for them. Of course, over there, they're not called rapid tests, they're called goblollies. I know, I also think that's dumb. We desperately need easy access to free rapid testing for anyone who wants it, on top of our vaccines, boosters, and masks. We have so many more tools now than we did back in March 2020, which is why we don't need lockdowns. Biden has already ruled out lockdowns for now, and I think it's safe to say no one wants to go back to that, Democrat or Republican. I don't want to go back to my attic, and I certainly don't want to go back to my in-laws' house. Okay, now, real quick, I need to film an alternate version of that line for my in-laws, and then we'll edit it in, and then this will be the closer look we show them. All right, ready? I don't want to go back to my attic, but I wouldn't mind going back to my in-laws' house because I love it there. Everyone's super chill, and they always sing karaoke with perfect pitch. Okay, back to the real closer look. I don't want to go back to my in-laws' house. Thankfully, Biden has ruled that out for now. Although you wouldn't know it from Fox News, which has been lying for days about Democrats threatening to shut everything down again over Omicron.
Democrats are already using this to jam through their pro-lockdown, anti-freedom agenda.
They want us to go on shutdown, lockdown again.
Then they want to implement more ridiculous lockdowns.
They want us to lock down our lives with no information, lock down our kids' lives with no information.
The Biden administration is once again locking down the country and persecuting its perceived political opponents, otherwise known as the unvaccinated. So you have to ask yourself, when will this end? Viruses mutate constantly. That's their nature. Will every new Omicron variant mean massive new and unconstitutional powers for our political class?
When will it end? Will every new variant mean new powers for our political class? Will they be able to test you, trace you, come to your house and inject you with a microchip hidden in a vaccine that tracks your movements? And will that tracking microchip allow them to see that you went to the anime convention in secret, of course, because you didn't want your friends at Fox News to know that you're in that kind of thing? And will they find out about the time you asked Sean Hannity what he thought of Dragon Ball Z and he looked at you like you were crazy and that hurt your feelings so much that you ran into the bathroom to cry, only to realize that you would run into the women's bathroom and were so worried that someone would see you run out that you instead removed a ceiling panel and climbed into a heating duct for the purposes of shimmying back to your office, not knowing that the duct wouldn't be strong enough to support your weight, causing you to, mid-shimmy, collapse through the ceiling where you landed on top of Rupert Murdoch's desk while he was sitting at it, causing him to look up from his soup and yell, "Crikey!" Will that happen to you? Well, I can tell you it will. Because it happened to me. Also, I want to revisit that Don Jr. clip from the montage because he had more to say specifically about Dr. Anthony Fauci.
If you look at, let's call it elf with a Napoleonic complex bureaucrat Fauci, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a bureaucrat. He's not a good doctor. He's better at being a bureaucrat. And as long as we keep giving that clown his 15 minutes of fame, the TV that he so desperately craves, we're going to be in these lockdown situations forever.
I'm sorry, he's an elf with a Napoleonic complex? You're so desperate to look taller, you stand with your nipples pointed out like you're using them as weapons. Stay away from me, Antifa. These bad boys will hurt you. Also, I wouldn't call anyone an elf when you literally pose for a photo on a stump in the woods like a troll who got kicked out of the Fellowship of the Rings. And yes, I'm aware there were no trolls in that fellowship. That's why they go sit on stumps. So Republicans are, as usual, lying about lockdowns and vaccines. Instead, they'd rather focus on absurd, unproven remedies like hydroxychloroquine or ingesting bleach or this new one from Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, mouthwash.
I want you to listen to Republican Senator Ron Johnson at a town hall just this week.
Standard garment, mouthwash, has been proven to kill the coronavirus. Even if you get it, you may reduce viral replication. There's all why not try all these things?
Or even better, don't use mouthwash, and your bad breath will keep people 6 feet away from you at all times. Listerine explicitly states on its website that its product is not intended to prevent or treat COVID-19 and should be only used as directed on the product label. I don't even want to imagine what's next. Is Titleist going to have to issue a statement that says, contrary to Republican statements, covering our golf balls in Sudafed and eating them for dinner will not give you Superman eyes? We have proven tools at our disposal to protect people from this virus, but right-wing politicians and media figures are intent on fear-mongering and lying about it. Santa himself could get vaccinated, and they'd tell you he was forced by an
elf with a Napoleonic complex.
This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.